Welcome, friends. Thank you for joining us this afternoon. We're going to have a conversation about body composting, which we get a lot of questions about here at the Natural Funeral. It's such a new offering, not just here in our state, but it's new everywhere on the planet. And we're really excited to have helped to bring this process to Colorado. So I'll tell you a little bit about that now. And I'm going to bring up a slideshow. And so Jamie, can you give me a thumbs up? Are you able to see the slide, and is it displaying correctly as a show?
Yes, that looks good.
Thank you. Okay. So let me start here. So I want to talk with you a little bit today about how body composting came to be an idea, and how it made its way to Colorado, and how the Natural Funeral has offered this to our clients, and kind of how those families are receiving this and engaging with it. So back in early 2019, the Natural Funeral was approached to offer testimony to the Colorado Environment and Energy Subcommittee, who was considering a bill regarding natural reduction of human remains. And that is, from a legal nomenclature perspective, the way that Colorado talks about this process is it's called the natural reduction of human remains. And Washington State had previously legalized this process through some pioneers out there who originally began working with natural reduction or body composting conceptually over a decade ago. And when we saw the opportunity to help support bringing this to Colorado, it was really a no-brainer, because the Natural Funeral is really founded on the principles of empowering our clients to have the choices in death care that are meaningful to their families and their communities. And then secondary to that mission is a holistic view of how the services that we bring to our community impact the earth, and they impact future generations. And we're always striving to do better in both of those fronts. That is, offer clients more choices and have those choices make a minimal impact or even a positive impact on the planet that we leave behind. So I'm going to really briefly talk about what exists in terms of other options. And so the Natural Funeral does the things that a holistic mortuary does. And so I'm not disparaging other types of body dispositions, but for the purpose of this conversation, we'll at least compare a bit. So the Natural Funeral offers green burial in cemeteries. We offer flame cremation, similar to what you see on the screen here. We offer an ecological form of cremation called water cremation that we began serving clients with back in 2019. And then most recently, we added natural reduction or body composting. But the reason that people come to us and ask for options is because they've heard, and rightfully so, that some of our existing choices leave maybe a little bit larger of a footprint than we would if we had other options. And so when we consider the impact of flame cremation, a lot of people choose it. It's growing day by day in terms of who selects what for their dispositions. Flame cremation is on the rise. Part of that is because it's probably the most inexpensive form of disposition, but also because people are familiar with it, and because it's It's a sudden, it's a very rapid transformation of a body, and so its use is on the rise. However, it does come with an environmental impact, and that is to say that our entire bodies are converted into a gas and emitted out of a building in the form of a gas. And that is any pathogens that are in our body undergo that transformation, any toxins, any mercury in our teeth, anything that's been surgically put into our bodies. So by comparison, this is something that we offer, but this has quite a bit of a significant environmental footprint. We also offer green burial. This is a picture actually, I was at this cemetery today. This is in Lyons, Colorado, where I did a burial this morning. And the Natural Funeral does burials, and we do them of unembalmed bodies. We certainly don't embalm. We don't offer the service. And we use things like shrouds instead of coffins. But this too carries some environmental impact because, of course, our body takes up that space in perpetuity. And so future generations would tend to this land, and it wouldn't be available for development or other uses. And so it does come with some environmental footprint, even when we do the most green of a burial, a hand-lowered burial in using only natural materials. I will talk briefly, I'll share briefly, another option is water cremation. It's also called alkaline hydrolysis. And that is a process that is similar to a flame cremation in that it only takes about 3 hours to complete, and it happens inside of a vessel in our facility in Arvada. And it's a process where, rather than fire, water and alkaline agents are the transformation change agents. And it's a process of chemistry whereby our body is broken down or reduced into bones and liquid. The bones are something that we dry and reduce, just like a flame cremation, and return them in an urn to families. The liquid is a sterile, and we neutralize back down to a 7 pH. It's a sterile liquid that contains all of the good things that were in our bodies, and it contains them in an elemental format. So in the vessel, at the conclusion of the process, is the bones we return to families and liquid that we return to farms. And so through this process, our bodies are converted into something that the earth can accept in terms of a liquid biostimulant. And we have lots of nitrogen and phosphorus and potassium and calcium and magnesium and great things in our body that living plants crave for their growth. And so this is another way that we can offer our bodies back to the earth. But the reason that we called you here today and what we want to show you is the offering that we have of body composting. And so I told you back in 2019, we were invited to offer some testimony to the Energy and Environment Subcommittee before this was eventually unanimously endorsed to the larger Congress. And then COVID delayed the passing of the law for a year. But in early 2021, this bill did make it into law. And it was signed into law earlier in the year. And on September the 7th of this year, Colorado became the second state in the country to be able to legally provide this service to our clients. And prior to that, after we went through the congressional testimony phase, and we realized that it looks like this bill has some legs and it's going to make it. And this is what we've wanted for our clients. So several of us from the Natural Funeral traveled to Washington State, where we met with the people who were already doing this. And to the best of our knowledge, there are only 3 operators in Washington State who who currently provide this service. One of them is Recompose, who was founded by Katrina Spade, who's the pioneer in this field. And the other is Return Home, that was founded by Micah Truman, who operates the largest composting facility for natural reduction of human remains in the nation. That's also in Washington State. And we visited a place called the Herland Forest. And Walt Patrick is the founder of the Herland Forest. And he operates his composting on the bed of a forest floor inside of a cemetery in South Central Washington State. And each of these pioneers has taken a really innovative approach at the way that they brought this offering to market. And the Natural Funeral synthesized on the offering that felt the most like us, which was to say that it was a very natural, understandable, really transparent process. And we wanted to take something that looks like composting and it smells like composting and it feels like composting when you're touching and working with the living soil. And we wanted to do it inside of a vessel that was not intimidating, that was not synthetic. And so to that end, what you see on this picture is an early version of the first vessel that I'm standing behind. And we've repurposed wood where we can to create wheels that become the mobility for this unit. And around the inside of the vessel, we used wood products and some insulating products to create something that we could hermetically seal. And so the vessel itself, we can make air and water tight using the layers of materials that we have. And then we can fill this vessel with something that looks really similar and feels really familiar to anyone who's ever participated in composting. And by that, what I mean is the agents that we use, and in composting terminology, the material that goes in with whatever's being composted, it's called a bulking agent. And with what's being composted, the bulking agent, and then the microbial living beings, and then what's being composted, all in harmony over a period of time, convert into soil. And so I'm going to take you through our bulking agents that we work with. Are familiar to most people in that they're wood chips, straw, and alfalfa. And inside of our vessel, we build a very a layered approach, just like you might if you're familiar with composting, where we start with wood chips, making the base. And these wood chips there's a lot of proprietary microbial activity that's taking place inside these chips. They're biochar, and they're inoculated with certain bacteria, certain enzymes, and certain fungi, so that they form a really nice base layer in the vessel. And then next we go in with an alfalfa layer, which provides a lot of heat and a lot of reacting agent for the microbes during this process. And then next we go with a layer of straw, and then we place the body in the vessel, and then we reverse that layer as we're covering the body. So ultimately, what we wind up with is a layered approach inside of this vessel. On the right of this photo here, this gentleman's name is Chris, and he was the person who really did all of the constructing on the preliminary vessels. And it was a really fun project to watch these emerge. You can see here that this one's been painted, and this has been a body has been laid into this vessel here. And so you can see that the layers are reversed. And we named the vessel the Chrysalis, sort of in an homage to Chris, who constructed it, and then also certainly giving credence to what happens inside the vessel is really a beautiful transformation that can occur inside the chrysalis. So Chris is there doing a final, he's actually putting through that's a brewed tea that has the microbial life that he's inoculating that vessel with from the top down. So this is actually just prior to the vessel being closed. Let's see. This is a picture of another vessel. This was a family that did a laying in ceremony. We have, to give you a little status update, this became legal in Colorado on September the 7th. On the autumnal equinox at September 22nd at 10 a.m., we laid in the first person in Colorado. So since then, since September the 22nd, we have had 3 additional clients who have selected this option. And to Wednesday at 3, we have the 5th client who has selected this for themselves, and we'll be putting that person in. Let's see. I do want to let you know our facility where we do this is currently in Arvada, Colorado. And the way that we describe the process to families is that it's about a 6-month process. When we first began, we described it as a 6-month to a year process, because this is, we are new to this too. We're not new to composting, and our team of experts is certainly not new to composting. We work with scientists who are really advanced and who are spectacular in their field. But to us, and even to them, the composting a human is different, and it's new to them. No, regardless of how much composting you've done in your life, legally, this should be new to you. What I wanted to tell you is we do it in Arvada. We were advertising it taking about 6 months to a year, and we thought that it would be closer to 6 months. But what we're finding is that it's really going to be closer to 3 months. Our initial processes are going really, really well. The state of Colorado has a requirement, and this makes just good sense if you're in the composting business. The requirement is that the composting temperature inside of your vessel has to reach above 131 degrees for 72 consecutive hours. And we are really proud to state that even the vessel that we loaded just about 10 days ago has already met its requirement at the state level. And so we're getting really good at getting through this process in an efficient manner and a very respectful manner. We've been able to kind of from start to finish offer families something that's felt really special. You know, as this particular photo that I'll show here, with anonymity to the family, I'll tell you that this was a beautiful service where parents got to participate with their child, who was the person who was going to occupy the vessel. And there was a comment from the family that said, we waited 9 months for this beautiful body to be a blessing that manifests into this world. And we knew about this body coming, and we knew about the life of the body that would emerge. And it's natural to us that this is not like a cremation that happens at the flip of a switch, but that there will actually be an act of the body returning to the earth over some months. And so some people find the duration of the process comforting, and some people like to elect a little bit more rapid process, for themselves. So, whoops. I do I do want to speak to, let me see. I do want to speak to our offering, which is in our VADA. I want to speak to the cost of the offering. The natural funeral offers natural reduction at $7,900, and that's for us to, take a beloved through this transformational process, and it's biologically managed, for up to 6 months. And so we have in our warehouse, it's of course it's climate controlled and very secure and has a lot of modern security and appointments to it, but it's a place for beloveds to rest in these vessels while their transformation completes. And I think those were the main items that I wanted to cover, but what I really want to do is let people get questions answered. And I'd like to offer to make this a little bit more participatory and have some dialogue. So I'm going to try and figure out how to not share my screen here, and then we'll open up to some questions. Oops. Okay.